Live from digital address GA09933441. Good afternoon. This is the Midday News.
Our COVID-19 treatment centers have gone from having 0 patients to now being 4. Ghana Health Service is recording on the average 200 new cases of COVID infections daily.
We're live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across Ghana, including Kaliewo FM in Akachi, and of course A1 Radio in Bolgatanga. Worldwide, we are live on myjoyonline.com. In this edition, Ghana's COVID-19 situation getting worse as new variants discovered to be more deadly, fast becoming dominant strain within the community.
That as the UK variant becomes widespread, or a lot more widespread, it could overtake the traditional variant. And we're noticing that it has a higher rate of spread.
We have more as the Ghana Health Service reviews the number of workplace infections are increasing by the day. Meanwhile, with more calls on government to shut down schools in the wake of rising COVID cases, we'll hear from a clinical microbiologist who says Ghana is recording high loads of the new variant among children.
In these cases, we are getting new coming in, even for children of 5 years, 12 years. It means that some of these children may serve as carriers for adults who may have some underlying conditions.
Also in this edition, NDC 2020 presidential candidate John Mahama's second witness tells Supreme Court hearing election petition that EC chairperson instructed him to leave National Coalition Center, insisting they were denied the opportunity to undertake due diligence on results submitted by some of the regions.
As representatives of the petitioner, we observe a number of issues that were of concern to us, which had the potential of undermining or creating problems for the ultimate outcome of the election.
We'll hear from him as he claims EC's declaration of the results moment after they had left to consult Mr. Mahama was a deliberate ploy to deceive them. And why did one of the judges on the panel clash with lead lawyer for the petitioner, Chatu Chikata?
My Lord, with respect, his Lordship is entitled to his opinion. He has answered the question, so I don't think he can be harassed with these opinions.
Please, I take deference to that. I am not harassing the witness. It's not my duty to harass him. Well,
we have details plus reactions from the lawyers also in sports.
The 25% capacity at match venues could be increased should fans obey COVID-19 protocols, according to the Ghana Football Association. Details when I join you with sports in 20 minutes.
And later in the bulletin, the debate on gospel and secular collaborations continues unabated. Today, we'll hear from gospel musician Ohima Mercy, who says she sees no wrong in using a secular song which carries a powerful message to preach.
I was preaching with Stoneboy Tough Seed. It was so powerful.
We have that and more here on the Midday News with me, Emefa Apau. Please stay for details. And this afternoon, Ghana's COVID-19 situation is getting worse as the new variants of the virus, which are more deadly, are fast becoming the dominant strains within the community. In the latest updates by the Ghana Health Service, the country recorded 772 new cases, bringing active cases to 5,515 and 8 new deaths, pushing fatalities to 424 from the previous 416 as of January 30. This trend, according to Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji, may get the already overstretched health facilities inundated. We'll hear from him, but first, Information Minister Designate Kojo Oponkroma also wants compliance to be stepped up across as government launches frantic efforts to get a grip on the virus.
Now, because there is the very high possibility that as the UK variant becomes widespread, or a lot more widespread, it could overtake the traditional variant. And we're noticing that it has a higher rate of spread. And it appears to be associated with a higher disease burden. It means that instead of lowering our guard or thinking that, we figure this thing out, all of us actually now have to step up our guard. Because what is now around and creeping around is a bit more dire than the first one. So if your compliance level was at 5 when the manageable version was around, now that what appears to be a more dire version is around, I honestly do think they have to step up your compliance level.
We can now hear from Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji, who disclosed that majority of cases being recorded are from workplaces, emphasizing the need for companies to adopt shift systems to manage the situation.
20 workplaces reporting cases and following them up. Sometimes, even as we speak now, we are still following up contacts of them. So we won't be able to give you the full number of people who have come. But what we know is that a significant number of hotspots are taking place in the workplace. One workplace can give you 700 cases, okay, compared to a household. And so anytime we start reporting workplace outbreaks,
That's the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji. Sincere apologies for the quality in sound there is from source. But my colleague Manuel Cranting was at that press conference and joins me with more on this. Manuel, we know some health workers who were threatening to lay down their tools over the compensations for frontline health workers. Was there a response to that particular concern?
Indeed, particularly in the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital, some of the health workers that were threatening to go on strike. Their response is that, well, the Ghana Health Service works with a tabulated list of frontline health workers. Indeed, it's not lost on the service those who are actually frontline health workers. It is computing and will address those concerns.
compensation. We have defined who a frontline health worker. The president has given a tax rebate that was up to December last year.
Well, Manuel, unfortunately, we can bring the full sound because of the quality, but there was an indication that more and more people are wearing their masks now. Do we know for a fact if that is the situation?
Indeed, the Ghana Health Service conducted a survey to gauge the level of compliance. The last survey was done in October, and at the time in Accra, just 10% of people were wearing their masks. This time around, that figure has shot up drastically. We are doing now some 42% of the people who were surveyed wearing their masks and wearing them correctly. 36% of the people were wearing their masks, but not correctly, some on their chin and so on. And some 22% of the people were not wearing the masks at all. Cumulatively, you're having about some 78% of the people who were surveyed, according to the Ghana Health Service, showing indications that they actually want to comply with the new directives.
Thank you very much. That's my colleague Manuel Cranting, who was at that press conference for us earlier today. But Ghana is recording high loads of the new variant of the coronavirus among children. That's according to clinical microbiologist and lecturer at the KNUST, Dr. Michael Owusu. With the country recording as many as 700 active cases daily, there have been calls on government to shut down schools. Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumawagi, insists schools are safe, a reason the president did not shut them down. But speaking on PM Express last night, Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Titus Bayu, warned against passing schools as safe until a risk assessment is conducted to establish the extent of exposure to the virus in their schools.
And so I have a problem with statistics that tells us that because few students have reported problems, the problem in the school is little. Until we have had a systematic way of assessing the burden in the school, we cannot make that conclusive statement. So to the extent that this new variant is affecting children and we can see the impact on children, we need a full assessment of schools to be able to make a statement on the impact on schools. But like we said, the school cannot be a safe haven alone if the entire community is still infected. So we have to tackle the community as well as tackle the school.
On his part, clinical microbiologist Dr. Michael Owusu revealed the new variant has been detected amongst children, some as young as 5 years old. He's worried they may pass it on to persons in their households who may have underlying conditions.
It looks like with this new second wave, most people seem to have high load of the viruses, and especially in young children. I mean, previously you could have viral loads that is quite manageable, which will mean that the rate of transmission was low. But with these cases, we are getting new coming in, even for children of 5 years, 12 years. If you have such high loads coming out from them, they may not be sick. But you and I know that, well, they will come back home. If they come back home, we cannot put on masks 24/7. It means that some of these children may serve as carriers for adults who may have some underlying conditions. I mean, we know that in schools, we don't expect to have a high rate of transmission resulting in sickness and death, perhaps because they are young, and young children, some way, somehow, have some level of protection. I think that if you look at 2 weeks ago, you have 200, which has increased to 700. You have 1,300 active cases that have increased to 5,000. If things are to follow through the natural log drive of this virus, then you are likely to have about 1,400 new cases in the next 2 weeks. And you have about 10,000 active cases in the next 2 weeks. If this happens, then of course, it will tell you that these interventions may not be working, in which case you may have to trigger the second level of intervention, which may include closure of schools, perhaps churches and other large gatherings.
That's Dr. Michael Owusu. He's a clinical microbiologist and lecturer at the KNUST. Remember, our active cases now stands at 5,515. New cases recorded now 772. And the death toll is now at 424. The figures are increasingly becoming names, not only names, but loved ones. Mask up now and saved that loved one. Off to the Supreme Court now, and one of the NDC's representatives in the Electoral Commission National Coalition Centre, or what we call the Strong Room, Dr. Michael Pesa-White, says they left the room on the instructions of the chairperson of the EC, Jean Mensah, to consult with the flag bearer of the party in the last election, John Dramani Mahama. According to him, he and his other colleague, Rojo Metal Nunu, had difficulties accepting some of the results from the region and had insisted on verifying them before signing the Form 13 to enable the EC go ahead and declare the outcome of the elections. Now, giving evidence from the witness box on the election petition, Dr. White said the EC on their blind side declared the results without their input.
Stated, we had been asked by the Electoral Commissioner when we brought our concerns to her attention to go and have a deliberation with the petitioner. If she had allowed us to come back and she was still not convinced, we would have duly indicated those reasons there and allowed the process to continue. As it were, the process was truncated.
I have put it to you that you were not instructed by the chairperson of the first respondent to leave the room.
My lords, we were instructed by the first respondent. I had no reason whatsoever to just lie or deceive these honorable courts if that was not the case. And as I had indicated, our living there was not in secret. We openly told almost everybody who was there that based on our discussions with the first respondent, this is what the outcome is, and that we were going to be back. The reason for which we left everything we had at the place.
I am putting it to you that what you have just stated is false. And I'm further putting it to you that if it were true,
I maintain that we have no reason for leaving the place. Indeed,
I am.
Yes, she did instructed us to leave. And my lords, on the Saturday after the declaration, I believe an official of the EC had said in public that he had seen Mr. Rojo Metanunu gone to the Electoral Commission chairperson whilst we were there. Of course, this official may not be privy to what they discussed, but I can say and maintain that it is on the basis of her instruction that we exited the place.
You see, on that day, you never spoke with the chair of the EC, did you? Yourself, you personally, never spoke with her.
My lords, we were there working as a team.
Now, he also described as deliberate deceit the decision by the first respondent, the EC, to go ahead with the declaration of the presidential results.
If walking away was an option for us at any given point in time, we probably would have done that long ago. We had never at any point in time imagined walking away, and we never walked away. We only exercised the option of going to see the petitioner because the first respondent had asked us to do so, and we had no reason not to believe that she was acting in good faith, only for us to realize we were deceived into getting out of the place. Besides, the reason why we believe strongly that we were deceived was originally the announcement of the election results was scheduled to take place at the International Conference Center. We were all told, everybody was aware. We were all prepared for it. Less than 10 minutes after we left the place, as I was told later by others who were in the room, the chairperson, together with the officials of the EC, came to call them upstairs and hurriedly announced the results.
And there were questions from the panel as well.
So when you say that the Form 13, as you know it, does not have a place for indicating your refusal to sign, you are thinking about what is in the law?
My Lord, I have not said. My Lord, I have not said the Form 13 as I know it. I only said we were not given any form in the National Coalition Center that requires or has a space for us to sign.
Thank you.
Thank you, my Lord.
Is there a reason why there should be the two of you in the strong room at the same time?
Yes, my Lord. I believe it is for us to be able to confer. For instance, the process involves a lot of calculations. And if I may, at some point, my colleague has to be mentioning the figures for me one by one, whilst I calculate them, both on the calculator and then in the Excel file. So there obviously was a reason why we have to be two. And I noticed that the CI actually says that agents must not be more than two.
All right. So if there was consent for you to leave, and in a heightened, circumstance like that, do the two of you go?
Madam, sorry.
No, please, because you see, you were there for a purpose.
Yes,
for
my
the
Lord.
petitioner, his eyes, body, everything was you.
Yes, my
You
Lord.
were going to confer with the petitioner.
Yes.
What were you expecting him to say? Because you were the ones receiving the regional results. So if you have to go and confer with the petitioner, wasn't it enough for one of you to go so that one stay around and see exactly what is happening?
My Lord, with the
Looking
greatest,
at the atmosphere.
my Lord, with the greatest of respect, the question itself suggests that the first respondent cannot be trusted.
No.
And therefore, we should have left one person there. I indicated to this honorable court, my lords, that we acted in good faith and realized later that we were deceived. And so, yes, there was that option, but we exercised the option that will allow us to give the petitioner the best of information that was available to us.
Now, also at the hearings, a lawyer Chatuchikata, the lead lawyer for the petitioner, John Mahama, clashed with one of the judges on the panel over relevance of some questions. Listen.
Would it be right for me to say that by taking contrary instructions from the chairperson of the first respondent, granted what you are saying is true, you did not help the cause of the petitioner who sent you there? My Lord, I don't believe that is true. We're working in furtherance of making sure that the results that ultimately gets announced by the first respondent reflect and represents the will of the people. And if she asking us to consult with the petitioner is part of how we could get there, we were happy to do it. But then, seriously speaking, you did not take your training seriously. No, please, it's not an appropriate question. I want to be clear. You've gone to do a particular job. Then, instead of doing the particular job that sent you there, you take instructions from somebody else. Then you leave your job. You see, that's what I want to find out. Then you did not help the petitioner.
My Lord, with respect, his lordship is entitled to his opinion about what the petitioner did. In terms of factual evidence about what he did and the reasons that he had, he has answered the question. So I don't think he can be harassed with these opinions.
Please, I take deference to that. I am not harassing the witness. It's not my duty to harass him.
Let's go now to the Apex Court, and Joseph Akable is our correspondent there. Joseph, there have been responses from both lawyers in particular on what transpired today in court. Let's start with the NDC side. What exactly have they been saying to the media?
As far as Dr. Dominic Ayene, who is one of the spokespersons for Mr. Mohammed's legal team, is concerned, it was a good day in court in that they were able to put across their side of the story through a witness he insists was quite credible. Even though he was harassed, he repeats the harassment claim again. He says, nonetheless, he was able to tell their side of the story, and they believe that the petitioner had a good day today and put across a story that supports their belief that the EC chairperson did not act in a fair manner and conducted herself in a manner that was leading to assist them lead to a conclusion that indeed a predetermined conclusion even before the court itself commenced.
I am pretty sure there was nothing unclear about the evidence that he gave. Judges are allowed to ask questions for clarification. What they are not allowed to do in terms of the law and ethics of judging is to descend into the arena of conflict. Now, as to whether they descended into the arena of conflict, I will leave that to you to judge. He did a good job of standing up, okay, as far as, the issues that he was called upon to address are concerned. He was very credible. He was eloquent, and you heard the judges saying that he should stop lecturing.
That's Dr. Dominic Ayene, one of the lead members of the petitioner's legal team. But we can also hear from Kojo Oponkroma, who is also a member of the legal team of the first respondent or the second respondent, President Akufo-Addo.
The bench has room to ask questions for clarification. And you hear the learned justices always say that we want to understand this one clearly. So to create an impression that when they ask you questions, they are harassing you, is part of the NDC strategy to begin to poison the minds of the general public against the bench. Because they can begin to see from the questions and the answers that they are giving, the gaps that are showing up in their case. Remember, they have already said that they think that this court is not a balanced panel. They have already been arguing that they have not been treated fairly, and
that's Kojo Oponkroma. Now, Joseph, away from this, earlier today, Mr. Mahama's lawyers filed a formal request demanding the EC produces some documents to allow for inspection. How did that end?
And so that particular issue, the court adjourned to deal with tomorrow. And so first, it's after the lawyers for the Electoral Commission and President Akufo-Addo's legal team had indicated that they are opposed to that particular request. There are 6 documents in issue. One is the originals of the Constituency Presidential Election Results Coalition Form for all constituencies in Ghana. Number 2 is the original of Constituency Presidential Election Results Summary Sheets for all constituencies in Ghana, and the originals of the original Presidential Election Results Coalition Form for all regions in Ghana, among others. And so they have up until close of today, that is the respondents, to file their opposition to this particular request. And so the court will sit tomorrow and have the legal arguments tomorrow.
That's Joseph Akable, our court correspondent there. Away from the judiciary, let's head to matters relating to education. And senior high school heads are faced with the challenging task of having to feed mini-mouths with scarce food supplies. Many of them are yet to receive the full complement of supplies from government, a situation affecting the feeding of students. President of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools, Mr. Yakub A.B. Abubakar, says some schools have had to adopt desperate means, including borrowing from local suppliers to keep students fed. He joins us on the line now with more on this. Thank you very much for your time, sir, on the Midday News. So we go straight into it. How dire is the situation?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Indeed, it's quite a challenging situation because schools generally have not received the full complement of their supplies. And what is serious is that certain components that are very necessary, like oil, if you don't have oil, there is no way you can do the cooking. So the situation is quite serious, and then we are calling upon authorities to, as a matter of urgency, address them for us.
But have we tried reaching out to the National Food Buffer Stock Company, and what explanations have they given about why these supplies have delayed?
We have indeed had some interactions with them, and from their end, it appeared the prices of the food items somehow have shot up, and they are still in a discussion with the authorities to see how they can work things out. And that is one of the causes. So we are impressing upon them that as school, the students are in school, we must feed them. And so those internal issues that they have to deal with their people, they should as much as possible do them as quickly as possible so that we get what we are supposed to get at our school level to enable teaching and learning to go on smoothly with the feeding of the students. Generally, it is price level increment that may be causing some of the delays in getting the things to the school. This is from our perspective,
okay,
based on the interactions we've had with them.
Okay, Mr. Yakub A.B. Abubakar, we're grateful. We will interrogate this matter further in subsequent bulletins. He's the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Senior High Schools there. We've tried to reach the Buffer Food Stock Company, but our efforts have been unsuccessful so far. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. It's time now for sports. And guess who is here? What's the latest?
Yeah, MFR, there is a midweek action to look forward to today between Great Olympics and King Faisal, but there are concerns about supporters neglecting COVID-19 protocols. Some match venues across the country, notably the Accra Sports Stadium, saw fans breach the 25% capacity directive by government. Supporters also sat closer to each other and without wearing masks. This led to the GFA sanctioned House of Folk to play their games behind closed doors. Now, the General Secretary of the GFA, Prosper Arisinado, is urging fans to adhere to the protocols for a possible increment of the stadium capacity in the course of the season.
I'll plead again to all soccer-loving fans who go to our various stadia that when you wear your mask and you enter, please don't take it off. And then when you go in, to ensure that there is social distancing as we've put in our protocol. So when you sit at one seat, make sure there's a space between you and the next person. Very often you see people aggregating. Even though there are seats to the left, seats to the right, we will plead. The stewards will come around to urge you to move. Please, when they come, cooperate with them. It's for the safety of all of us. And we can only ask for more if we do this right. I know a lot of people are doing it right, but a few so far are giving us cause for concern.
You just heard from the General Secretary of the GFA, Prosper Arisinado. My name is Haruna Mubarak. Over to you, MFA.
Thank you very much and good job there. Now, the General Transport, Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union of the TUC is demanding adequate protection for staff of the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Agency, DVLA, across the country. Their call comes after a pro-NPP group, Kandahar Boys, stormed the Tamale DVLA office and ordered the workers to leave the workplace or they will burn the offices. This led to the closure of the office for over 2 hours. We can hear from the National Secretary of the Union, Fuseni Idrisu.
We could recall that a politically motivated incident occurred in Winneba in 2017, resulting in the transfer of the officer in charge of DVLA, Winneba. Political interferences are currently ongoing in Odan in the eastern region. It is the concern of the National Union that the workers of DVLA are at risk in the performance of their duties, and this ought to be checked by management of DVLA and the sector ministry to ensure that DVLA is safe and devoid of any unlawful harassment against the workers by any group or persons.
We'll give you further details subsequently, but it's now time for showbiz. And it all started with gospel artist Celestine Donko featuring high life musician Akwabwa in her latest single called Thank You. There was an uproar within the gospel music community who insisted it was wrong. We also had a fear on that song as well. Well, guess who's waded into the debate? Gospel musician Ohima Mercy. Mapitso joins me with more on what she's been saying. She used Stonebwoy song to preach.
Okay, so Homer Mercy joined us in the studio yesterday, the Hits FM studio. So what she's saying is that she used Stonebwoy's Tough Seed to preach, and the calls she got were just ridiculous, right? People were crying, people were sharing their stories, and she's saying that, you know what, it doesn't matter if the song is circular, it's gospel. If it has a powerful message and it can empower people, then why not use it? Let's hear more on what she's been saying.
I was preaching with Stonebwoy Tough Seed. It was so powerful. Tough Seed is one of the best songs I love on Stonebwoy song. I'm telling you, it's deep. And when you take it on the spiritual side, he was actually singing something mysterious.
So that's Stonebwoy's Tough Seed ending that sound.
Tough Seed. Well, I don't know about preaching with that, but
basically what the song is saying, that they didn't know that I was a seed and they buried me. And you know, a seed grows when it's buried. So yeah,
we'll see.
He's a tough seed.
Thank you very much, Maps. And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. There's more news, of course, when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Pastor Mensa Otebo is about to preach, and he's preaching on Dominion Mandate. I don't know if you'll be using Tough Seed, though. It's part 17. Thank you very much for your company.
Look at you, the big boss.
You know they here.
You know they fear who?
Until somebody says, I will tell your mother.
That's why we say wear a mask or else